going on, everybody?
How's it going?
Welcome to our weekly live at lunch with Parts Online Network. As always, we have names. They are on the screen. They're not in the right place, but we have. I'm Bill.
Nate.
Andy,
and then special guest with us today is Brandon Tothero. Correct? Is that how you? Tothero. All right. Yeah. I'm not good with names. I should have asked you that beforehand.
wow, Dave's here. On time.
Dave is.
No way.
Yo, what's going on? Is it snowing in South Carolina that you're here on time?
He must have sold that Hellcat for $50,000
That
over.
$50,000 marked
MSRP.
up super stock.
Yikes. So, as always, live every Wednesday, 12 p.m. What we got going on in the shop this week?
So this week, inventory. So really boring. If you follow my stories or Parts Online stories, you will see a ton of pictures of parts, and all those parts are for sale. All those parts are inventoried. All those parts are on the website, which is where you should order. Use PartsOnlineNetwork.com or PartsOnlineNetwork.com. Both will take you to the same website, and you'll see the same inventory on both of those web addresses. Bought 2 trucks. Well, actually, I guess last week I already had the one that we drug on the trailer that was smashed on the right front. What's that?
I think you
Didn't
bought
I?
that Thursday.
Okay, so
Yeah.
bought 2
Yeah.
trucks. I actually just got back this morning about an hour ago. I put a deposit on another truck, which is the rustiest truck I've ever bought. Stay tuned for pictures of those. I'll probably have those tomorrow. But that's about it, right? Nothing. No, we haven't really worked on anything.
Yeah.
The echo is an
cut the
issue.
cats off
That's weird.
some
I
stuff.
don't
Got
know
an
why there'd
echo?
be an echo.
Who said there's an echo?
TikTok.
Oh,
So it's
interesting.
just that phone over there, I guess.
Maybe.
Maybe because we're too far away from that phone, too. That phone's not mic'd up.
Hmm.
Ah, well. You'll have this.
Oh well.
If you want to watch the actual broadcast, you head over on Facebook, Parts Online Network there, and then you get to actually see the broadcast with the videos and stuff.
Yeah, and
you
then
guys
Bill-
are kind of just watching behind the
Bill
scenes.
does this neat little thing where he embeds videos for you to watch as we're talking about things. Embeds, yeah.
Yeah, take from the bed.
Yeah. So, yeah, he does that cool stuff. So it's better than the broadcast on TikTok.
And it's actually mic'd
we'll
up
get
and
to
stuff.
that.
Is that a boat car behind you?
We will get to that.
It sure
We'll
is.
get to
Sure is.
New challenge we just dropped.
Yeah.
How to do it.
Yeah, of course the sun had to get like glary back there. It wasn't like that about an hour ago. when
No, I
set
see.
it
I
up.
see that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as
Brandon's
I
got
sat
like this
down, I
like
was
white
like,
halo
my
going
eyes.
around, like oh, kind of appropriate.
So yeah, shop stuff updated.
Yeah, just a mess
That's
of
it.
inventory. There is stuff laying everywhere still.
Yes.
And we have 3 trucks now
to part out.
to part out. So
And there's no room.
we're trying to clean the shop up, get everything inventoried from the last 2 part outs before we bring another one in and tear that apart. The good news is the next 3 coming in all have pretty shitty bodies on them, so the whole truck per se is going to the scrapyard. So we'll pull some of the good stuff off of it, and then the rest of it will just go to the scrapyard, and we'll pile some more junk in it and send them on their merry way.
I forgot to tell you. I hit a fucking deer last night. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear.
It's
But I hit
okay.
a deer.
We do it here.
I hit a deer.
With
and
what?
The cobalt. And by I hit a deer, I mean it ran into my door.
Oh, I've had that happen. I've had it hit my quarter panel.
You didn't hit a deer hit you.
Yeah.
Did he
I
knock
was
himself
assaulted.
out?
Yes. I turned back around. I was going to shoot the thing in the middle of Burn Road. I don't know if you know Burn Road. There's houses. But I was like, this thing is going to die. And then it right as I get back,
It got up and ran
it's-
away.
It must have been like, where the hell am I? I must have knocked it out.
Yeah, that happened to my buddy, and,
Scurried off.
and
Did
he
it
got
do
out
damage
and it
or
knocked
no?
himself out, and he started
There's a little
like
dinger.
punching it, and it got up, and
Bottom
then
of
he's
the
like
door.
chased it into the field.
There's a dinger at the bottom of the door, and it like lightly, like it didn't chip the paint, but like the paint is now
I got you.
broken there.
It's
Yeah.
funny you say lunch because Nate actually does his own butchering, right?
Yes.
So he could have popped it and wrapped it up in the tarp and took it
I
home.
was gonna use fucking $3 a piece hollow points to kill this deer.
I mean, $3 is worth it for as much meat as you would have got.
It was a little.
Nah.
It wasn't too big, or it would have really messed up the door.
feel
Yeah, it got hair in my wheel between the tire. Literally just ran into the side of my car. I couldn't believe it.
It was red.
Couldn't believe it.
No one ever.
That incites anger in animals.
Because it's like, no one knows Burn Road, but Burn Road, it like starts going uphill, it's a turn, and then there's 2 humongous potholes. So I'm focused on turning, missing these potholes, and then this deer's like, runs to the side. Sorry, how to get that out.
Okay.
Feel better now?
See, we would have already talked about. So I'm just finding out about it now, but we would have talked about that this morning if I was actually here.
I would have definitely remembered.
Yeah, you were out checking out that other truck.
Gallivanting.
Checking out
If you
the
Gallivanting.
the actual CEO of Rust.
Yeah, this is like the old CEO of Rust has been fired. The board has voted him out.
So is this the owner? The founder? The founder of Rust.
So the founder is like Steve Jobs at Apple. Like he left, but he's back to reclaim his
founder
position.
of Rust.
We name our Rust shit.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen
Rusty.
that.
Yeah, what did we have? We had the CEO of Rust, and then we
Rust
had Rust
Edition.
Edition, the Rust Edition truck.
Now we have the founder.
But see,
Now, which one did we blow up with the airbags?
that was the CEO of Rust,
Yeah.
and the CEO of Rust should maintain that title because that had a broken frame. That frame was rotted.
Fun
This
story.
one
Do you
has a
remember
solid
me
frame.
showing you the video where they take the dent out of the car with the airbag?
Yes,
That was this guy.
Not this car. But
Okay.
it
That
was
was
one
the
of
cop
other cars.
car.
Yep.
That's pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, I was like,
We
hey,
saw
somebody
it on
else is
TikTok.
using these.
We saw it on TikTok. We were like, well, we got to try it.
Yeah.
And,
well,
yeah.
if you need more airbags, to try that.
Yeah, we
Right
have
now,
lots of
honest to God, we
airbags.
probably have 100, 120 airbags.
He probably will.
Okay.
He's
Yeah, this is what we did with ours right there. You can see it on the screen.
So
The whole side of the thing was Bondo. We're like,
one
let's
issue
just
we-
stuff an airbag up inside and see what happens when it
it went to the path of
explodes.
least resistance.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It came out
where
the
the
wheel
gap
well.
was there, it kind of pushed through the gap. If we would have been able to seal that off, I'm pretty sure we would have just blew the whole Bondo side off of it.
And then it blew the door open and blocked
Blew
my
a lot
view.
There were some big chunks of Bondo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we blew up. We blew up the fridge, the door off the fridge.
The microwave. Was
Oh, no, it was the microwave,
The
yeah.
microwave was the one that was like
The
it
door-
had like 5 seconds of hang time from the door. It was up there forever. We really got to do that
Yeah,
again.
we had the brilliant idea to mount a GoPro on top of, I think that was the fridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when it blew the door off, because at that point we knew the door was going to blow off from the microwave, I'm like, all right, it's going to blow the door off. We're going to mount a GoPro to the door so we can get it flipping through the air. And like the mount itself couldn't handle the force, so it just smashed the GoPro down as the door went up and like shattered it into pieces.
And then sent the pieces of it flying.
Yeah.
And we ended up walking around, recovered all the pieces.
Yeah, we
but then
found
you
all the
say
pieces.
the memory card.
The memory card was like the
corrupted.
first thing that got ejected. From the impact, it must have ejected the memory card out, so we didn't get any footage of it. But yeah, fun story.
Yeah. We've done the airbag thing.
Yeah.
It worked. It was one of those like learning experience, but we used a door one first, which was just a small.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave us enough room to put a steering wheel one in.
The
And
second
then
shot's
steering
the one that did it.
The steering wheel one went a little too far.
Oh.
So we wish we could have gone just the steering wheel one, and it probably would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But he likes to hit stuff, so
So
a lot of times me.
the occasion will
Usually
arise
you.
again
Oh,
for
yes.
it to need to be fixed.
Like both our cars were freshly painted at the beginning of the season, and he hit me within the first 2 hours of the first event. His car wasn't even. It was 6 days old of being painted.
Oh,
It was painted the weekend before,
yeah.
so yeah, that's when it all started. And then it's going downhill this season.
So I mean, the only other thing we did, we took Parts Truck out on the road.
Yep.
Saw its first real road trip.
Yeah, it wasn't too terribly far.
Wasn't
Yeah,
too
I drove it through town because I took it to show Kristen when it was.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we got Chinese food.
Oh,
Lunch run.
that's right. Yeah,
We did the
we
lunch run.
went and got lunch in it.
But yeah, we went and picked up a Christmas tree and did a little bit of videos with it. You guys will see that video coming out this week.
Yep.
A little bit of fun with it. Pictures did not come out the way I thought they were going to. That second set of lights really killed that, because I had that one whole set of lights that went out, and I should have just went home and done the bottom one. I like the video a lot. The video where the light changes.
I love that.
That
yeah.
was cool. So that was
'Cause
kind of
it's
worth it to me.
Kind of light out and then bam. Dark.
Yeah, I kept doing the same video over and over again as the light kept dropping, and
Yep.
then I kind of faked it a little bit and just darkened everything up so it looked like nighttime on the
Yep.
second shot. But yeah, the pictures I wasn't too happy with. There's a couple that came out, but not really too happy with the pictures. I did like the front picture.
What about the video?
The video looks good. The video is
The
good.
burnout, the third gear burnout video.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was a
Okay.
good one. Like I said, I like the way that shot came out too for the Christmas card. That shot came out good.
I do need to get those done.
Funny story, that picture's faked. That's actually just a picture of the front when we didn't have the tree decorated fully, because that was before we did the burnouts, so we only had the garland on the tree. I hated the way it looked, so I cut the tree out by itself when it was sitting in the back, and I had taken one of the pictures out, and I just moved it behind the truck, and the shadow's already on the truck because the tree's really in the truck, but so you can't tell at all. You can't.
I like it.
It took some work, but yeah, no, it was fun. Now you guys are actually seeing we did a little compilation on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram hates us right now. They despise us.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I understand completely what we've been selling, sales page, and yeah, they hate us.
My favorite part of that video is camera's super still, engine starts.
Yeah. Got to figure out a new
seizure.
mount for inside the truck.
Yeah.
For drag week, because the engine itself just shakes the crap out of the camera and makes it look like you're underwater. I thought it did good on the road.
Yeah. I'm
Definitely, anytime we do shoots with it, though, we need to put the real tires on it.
Yeah, that's the problem is
You don't want to run those on the road.
I don't want to run slicks on the street.
I get it.
I just need to stop being poor and buy another set of those wheels and put an actual, a drag radial on it.
That's the reason.
That can't be run on the street. I just wanted to say it before Nate could call me poor.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be waiting like 10 years probably.
Before Nate could call me poor.
The only other thing, we talked about Gincana last week. Did you see that Vaughn Gettin Jr. and Chelsea D'Onofrio put out their Toge video? Toge?
No, I didn't see that.
Sorry, I'm murdering that. Yeah, they basically took the two drift cars right up a mountain, real thin mountain road.
Oof.
Pretty wild. We'll watch some of it now.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah.
My honest review.
Live reactions.
Ooh. That's tight.
Did it in North Carolina. That's the road. That was the map of the road. It is super tight. Probably talking two of the best built drift cars out there right now, and two very good drivers. But those RTR cars there's a ton of money in those things, and that's all Ford sponsored. Pennzoil, big sponsor, big money. Yeah, it's pretty much a one-lane road. And again, like we talked about last week, like Gincana, I know I was alone on this and just kind of getting bored with it. But this stuff is cooler to me. Just the location looks cool, the shots are cool, and it's impressive if you understand. Oh, we get a Ford commercial. Of course we get a Ford commercial.
They just sprinkled it in the middle right there.
As if we weren't already showing a Ford commercial.
Yeah.
You can buy these now, right? RTRs?
Yeah. They have a bunch of different levels you can buy.
Wasn't it an RTR that Clarkson drove when they did the Detroit battle?
I don't think so.
I think it was.
I thought it was just a Roush.
So what's a fully built RTR?
So it was just a
I
Roush.
think the RTR Stage 5, I think is what they call them. I have no idea.
$250,000?
I don't know if they're that much, but they're not cheap.
I mean, you figure if it's set up, that means it's caged and everything, right? Those they come caged?
No, those are their
What's
Stage
that?
5 street
There was
cars.
a fucking
Okay.
car or something.
You can tell, again, that most of these are not first takes.
Yeah, you can see the
You can
marks
see-
on the road all the
This
time.
one is that's a first take there.
But
But yeah, you can see where they didn't do it. And again, the videos, I always want to see. Me and Brandon were talking about that earlier. I guess Gincana, they did a behind the scenes video and showed
there's
on
a series.
Amazon.
It's
Yeah.
the Gymkhana Files. It's
That's what he
awesome
was saying.
because they show how many times he crashed the Unicorn and broke wheels on it. And
See, that's what I want to see. I
smashed
want
the
to
front
see
end
that
of the
kind of
Huna
stuff.
truck.
Right.
It's not like dude just jumps in a car and I'm a perfect driver. I don't ever hit anything. He was swinging around a couple times in Detroit and caught the rear wheel of the car and it just shatters the wheel. And then the one where they go in, it was under the awning with the brick pillar. He hits that brick pillar 3 times at the front of the Huna truck. So it's like, it's very challenging regardless of how good of a driver you are, but they, obviously, the miracle of editing, you can make anybody look like a superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Which
those.
is what I intend on you doing for me when we go to Sick Week. Make me look like I'm the best racer in the world. Just to move me in front of everything I'm racing, because
I'll
I'm
have
going
to
to be
I'll have to make sure to, mix in Tom Bailey's ETs and stuff.
Yeah. You're like, he went sixes.
Yeah, no. Not yet.
No, I'm never going sixes in that truck.
I was gonna say, is that the intent ever to get up there? Like, are you gonna pro
Not
stock
in
that thing
no.
out?
So Mark and I talked about doing a full tube chassis truck and basically making it look exactly like that and calling it the Evil Twin. So like one that is completely purpose built just to go fast.
Right.
But that's going to be $100,000+ build.
Oh yeah. And you're still gonna skin it as the SRT10.
I want it to look exactly like Parts Truck.
No, I mean, with an SRT10 hood.
No. Everyone's really up in arms about it not having
What's
an SRT10.
one of the things that
hood.
makes it an SRT10?
It's a Daytona hood.
I mean, if it has the blocked off
Nathan.
hood scoop insert, then yes, it's a Daytona hood.
So yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give this guy some time now.
Yeah, now it's your turn.
All right.
Get ready.
Now we start grilling them.
So, proper introduction. As he said, his name's Brandon Tothero. Sorry. Got it right now. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it right by the end of this. Most of you guys have probably seen the video of this thing sitting behind us. That is the drift boat. Millions of views everywhere. He's been through a lot of iterations with this car. This is not how this car started out. This car's been around for 4 seasons?
years, yeah.
4 seasons. Yeah, so go ahead, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. What got you into drifting to begin with, and then we'll start talking about the cars.
All right. Yeah, like you said, my name's Brandon. 34 from, right here in Pennsylvania, Reading area. Kind of grew up here my whole life. And then, I'm an engineer by trade, doing cabinetry, stuff like that. Lots of hospitals and, most of the time I'm sitting behind a computer anymore and just drafting and then programming CNC machines. So, like, I've always been into cars, and so it was always kind of when we were younger, I guess, we thought drifting was expensive, you thought you needed full cages, stuff that we couldn't afford, while we were in teens and early 20s. So
It's funny because that's something, not to cut you off, but that's something Dan mentioned last week too. When he first got into drifting, he put like the full cage in his car because he said, I thought that's what you needed.
Right. No, I just thought you needed it, so we didn't pursue it at all. We always went out in parking lots and screwed around and, did the normal thing, for car guys, at those ages, and then had, multiple things all over the place, from bagged Mercedes to, Volkswagens and stuff, and had a Nissan 300ZX as my first car, and then Geo Metros, and, the gambit of all different kinds of things.
So hang on, you mentioned some front-wheel drive cars. So you're familiar with the tray slides then, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Done a few of those.
Okay, good. As long as Nate probably still does those, don't you?
If you just find a dirt lot, you just
Okay.
Now, we actually had a set of those made out of metal once.
Oh, nice.
Because then they don't wear through,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they throw sparks. Now they will if they fall off, and you have to grab them. They're hot, and they'll melt to your carpet. If you put them in the passenger seat, and you're done. Yep, definitely melted a set of those to the Geo.
Right, so that's why it looks familiar.
Passenger carpet.
Gotcha. Okay.
But so getting into drifting then actually started with this car. This is the only car I've had as a drift car.
Okay.
And I got it. I picked it up. If you go to the first picture, 4 years ago, and I just bought it. It was looking for a general daily. Wanted something cheap.
Oh, I see what he did there. General Daily.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
A little bit. And ended up picking up that thing. Terrible tan interior spec, but it was cheap. It was $1,000. Manual, 330. And it was probably within the week of getting it or so. Ended up kind of looking into. I was like, this might be my first manual rear-wheel drive car, and the time I was like, maybe we can go drifting. Talking with buddies, and we ended up looking up rules for Club Loose, and of course, being a convertible, I kind of shot myself in the foot. And you need the roll bar, you need because of the roll bar, then you need the seats and the harnesses. So my initial into it, I kind of needed a little more than others would. And I think within the same week, so the buddy that I drive with all the time, Tom, I ended up started sending him, other BMW E46s, and he bought one 2 weeks later. So now we both had cars with the intention to, go start drifting, started putting them together, and then, did the normal stuff. If you go to the next picture, put wheels on it, coils on it, got the cage, half cage done. And put living that racer dream, and put a big dumb wing on it. Just one of those. You're like, you know what? If I'm doing this, I'm gonna have fun with it.
Yep.
And it's a street car. It's still a street car. So drove it around like that for a while.
So that was Club Loose your first?
Club Loose was first
event?
Yep. I think we went to one or two that first year. I think we went to one Evergreen event that year, and that was from Kyle Toe. He's friends with, and he goes to the garage that we always that my good friend owns, and he kind of pointed us then in that direction of Evergreen.
So you know Eric then, McCauley?
I know the name, yeah. But so me and Tom started. He had a small Toyota pickup truck bed trailer that he used to tow behind his Miata, and we hooked that up. We made tow bar for his car, and we just put our wheels in, and started going to events. So we'd drive them on the street, and a couple Club Loose events. Started to learn down there. Found Evergreen. One of those it was harder than we expected. We'd been around. You drifted or done donuts and stuff in V8 cars and whatnot, and we're like, yeah, we can slide a car around, it's no problem.
Yeah.
And then you put yourself on a track, and, you're like, oh, you have to go here, and then we picked, fairly low power cars that, we definitely learned along the way. Help from other people in the drift community are super helpful. You ask questions.
Dan said the same thing.
It's just a community.
Yeah.
It's real helpful.
It's always fun when somebody shows up their first time and they're super nervous, and they're just like Dan said,
Yeah.
he stood there for 2 hours before he went out his first time, and he's like, I'm just gonna spin. Like, yeah, we all know
Yep.
that.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
no one's gonna laugh at you.
Yeah, you're gonna learn.
Yeah. We did the same thing. We were terrible that first year. We went out, we were like, okay, I think we bought 3 sets of tires each, and we couldn't get them to spin and, hold a drift and, have that work. And then, we had people tell us, bump tire pressure's up, and, just all those little tweaks really started helping. And my car, I kind of put together decent from the beginning. I put a hydro in it. I put coilovers on it, stuff like that. Tom kind of did the opposite, and he was still stock seat belts. He had lowering springs on his, and I think we had a hydro in it and welded diffs. And then over the events, he started, doing the upgrades. Man, this seat is terrible. It doesn't help we pulled them all from a junkyard, and his girlfriend cleaned them real well, and they're leather seats, so he's just sliding around all over in his car. He's like, I really need a bucket seat.
Yeah.
So, one of those, upgraded to a bucket seat. Bought a parts car, had coilovers on it, slapped those on. So his car kind of grew, slowly, where mine was a little better to start. And then, I don't remember what my next picture is in there. So I think that was first event. That was the first Evergreen, I think, that year.
Yeah, that's L-Track.
Yep. And then I think coming into, so side, story on this one. One of those, you start going to events, you're like, oh, I need a tow vehicle. I had a truck, but we were looking at stuff like Evergreen and that, and like, you have these 2 days events, and it'd be nice to stay around. Ended up picking up this motorhome for $500. It was in a field.
Did you hear about the motorhome yet?
No.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
So
Yeah.
So like it needed work. Like there was a little tree growing out of part of the roof. Like the whole front cab was water damaged.
Yeah.
Had to be torn apart. Fixed.
We'll have to talk about that because mine. I think I'm going to need to do that with mine.
Yep.
The front section there, the front window is.
They were always known for it. Yeah, that was sitting in a field somewhere up near like Poconos. Bad trans. I got it to the end of the guy's driveway and then called AAA. And it was like, I don't know what happened. I just bought it. It didn't work. So they towed it back down here, and while it was being dropped off, I was running out and finding another. It was a Turbo 350. Found one for $100. Threw it in. By the end of the weekend, it was running, driving. Spent a little bit of time fixing the roof on it, and then kind of did some interior stuff too, just repainting, cleaning it up generally. And I started
More
towing.
foreshadowing?
Generally. Everybody's super confused right now.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to tie it all together.
Yeah, so that thing has been, like I said, $500. I can't complain on that at all, but it definitely struggled, towing the car, small block Chevy with a Turbo 350 behind it, it wasn't happy. So got that, and I think started using that. And then I think we're into the next season. If you grab another picture, or no?
No, that's the Magnum.
Okay, another short side. So during that winter, then I guess me and a buddy, same guy that drives a cop car, we flew to Texas and ended up buying, it's a pro-charged Magnum. So I thought that fit with you guys here.
Yeah, our Dodge theme.
So we ended up buying that, or I ended up buying it, and then that was we left work Friday, flew down, ended up staying in a hotel, 8 a.m. Saturday morning, Ubered to the guy's house, looked at it, bought it, looked decent. It had skinnies and slicks on it, and we're like, it's November, I got to drive back to PA. I knew that, so previous weeks I was looking on Facebook Marketplace in Houston and found the set of wheels that's on it. And I was like, hey, like this day, Saturday, you available? Like, do you have a jack or anything? Like, can I swap wheels while I buy it?
Yeah.
Guy was like, I got to work that day. I was like, can you take him to work? Ended up meeting this guy at his work, bought him there. Harbor Freight, jack stands and toolkit, and changed him right there in the parking lot.
Nice.
So I think we left Houston at like noon that day.
That's a pretty quick turnaround to buy a car, get to the guy with the wheels, swap the wheels, and get on. That's not bad.
Stop for tacos because you're in Texas, you had to.
Yeah, don't miss that opportunity.
And then got on the road, right around noon, and started, just road trip back. Stopped in Louisiana for some real good, Louisiana food for dinner.
Yep.
And then we bombed into Tennessee around like 3 in the morning. So we were behind schedule for what I wanted.
Yeah.
But slept at a truck stop. Not the most comfortable thing. It has a harness bar in it.
Oh, so you couldn't even recline the seats then?
Reclined them like 3 inches. It was like, tink. You're like, going to bed? Yep, okay. Slept for a couple hours. Woke up, and because the back was full of slits and skinnies, couldn't even sleep in the back. So my goal there was I wanted to run the tail of the dragon, on the trip up through. So I drove down, swapped seats with my buddy. He drove back up it, and then we continued our kind of cannonball on the way home.
Cool.
So we made it home Sunday night, like 1 in the morning. Both of us went to work Monday.
Wow.
And then Monday on the way home from work, I blew the motor.
Oh.
That was the first one.
That was the first one. So car was definitely hurt when I bought it. Somehow it ran okay on the way home. Like, we didn't beat on it or anything because we were driving long distance. Like, we didn't want to chance it. So one of those, on the way home, starts misfiring, pull a plug. It's, closed spark plug. It's one of those kind of like, that's not a good sign.
No.
Threw a bore scope down it and saw ring layers were lifted, which the car was running 12 pounds, which is not good for stock motor, stock piston, Hemi stuff. So kind of already had that like in the back of my mind. It's like, I should probably put a bigger pulley on it, make it safe, and then end up building a motor for it. And
But the car decided it wanted a built motor before you decided you were ready to do it.
And then we weren't ready for it, so I went to the junkyard, grabbed another motor, threw all the good parts on it, put it back in the car, was like, you know what, put another pulley on it, brought it down, and was like, this will be good. 6 months later, feel like I start hearing a noise, stopped driving it, and then we had room at the shop to go take a look at it. Ended up like at my house, started it, made it halfway to the shop, which is 10 minutes across town. One of those, you come up to a stoplight, and like as engine RPMs are dropping, it just seizes. I was like, really? Like no big knocks, nothing like that, but like I thought I was hearing like a slight knock. Still don't know what that problem was. I ended up just one of those. I didn't want to think about it. That motor just got put off into the corner.
Yeah.
Took the parts off of it. I still haven't pulled the pan on it. It's still sitting under a table. And then went to start a motor build on it, and prices just started skyrocketing. So that took like a year and a half till I kind of gave up on that. Ended up getting another junkyard motor, and a couple companies make pistons and rods, just drop-ins.
Like
that are
MMX?
Yep.
Okay, is that who you got them from?
Yep, one with MMX drop-in piston and rod kit. And then you just, file the rings, everything to where you want to be, put that together, did the typical full re-gaskets, oil pump, just make it almost rebuilt, close enough.
Yeah.
Crank did come out, put bearings in it, stuff like that. So I'm happy with where that was.
So that was the original engine then?
No.
You
that
heard
original one went to the machine shop.
I didn't know if you pulled apart the original and did, but that
one got pulled apart and went to the
so,
machine shop.
Okay.
And then when basically the deal with the guy who was building the motor on that one, we ended up, I got my money back for the machine work, and he kept the block. Because I was like, I don't have a use for the block anymore. Like, it's half machine, whatnot, but like the rest of the prices are skyrocketing. I was like, I'm not in it for that. So he basically, had a good deal there where I got my money back on that, and I just went to the junkyard and bought another one.
Gotcha.
So the second one that blew up is the one that I haven't looked at. It's still sitting under the table. This is the third one. So was surprised, pulled it apart, everything looked good in the heads.
Yeah.
It was clean motor inside. So that was, lucky there. And then it's been, I think I got it back running in this September.
Okay.
Took it down to the dyno and ran out of fuel pump. One of those, I wasn't sure. It was advertised for good for like 700, and it wasn't,
Yeah.
So put another pump in it, still wasn't enough. Basically, it comes down to it needs a dual pump setup. It needs a dual pump, full return. It's still on the return list system.
I gotcha.
So I'm just out of volume, I think is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
So currently just waiting on, funds to be able to afford, because it's like $2,000. It's not cheap just to do a dual pump setup in it. So
that's
as we discussed numerous times in this show.
with
price of Mopar parts.
Yeah.
Right.
My saying is, when people ask why I like Mopars, I say I like to pay 2 to 3 times as much to go just as fast as Fords and Chevys.
Yeah, that sounds about
That's
right.
accurate.
Yeah, that car's definitely been taking money from me. But I'm happy that it runs and drives again. I drove it to Ocean City for Cruise Week, back in October. That's what we were trying to get it done for. And I've just been, I don't want to say I'm babying it, but staying out of full pulls, high boost stuff where fuel pressure's dropping. So staying away from any of that. So that was supposed to be the fun, daily, easy, fast car. So that happened that winter. And then should be back into the drifting now.
It's the Geo.
So this was another Geo I bought because it was a good deal. And this was just a fun, I lifted it, put it on ATV tires. And it was one of those I just always wanted to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
Lifted, roof racked. That one didn't last terribly long. It had some rust issues and ended up tearing the frame horn off of one corner because they're known for that.
Yeah.
So now we're into the next season. did a little livery on the car. Other than that, it pretty much stayed the same. I think this was then 2020 where we started, really getting into things. We started going to Evergreen pretty consistently. Driving started to improve. We were still struggling here and there. And then throughout that year, I guess when we got to the end of the year, Evergreen likes to do a Christmas event.
That was actually my first one that we did.
Okay.
The first Christmas
Extra,
dress up, extra event. Like, it's funny because you picked the same picture I had too.
Yeah. So Evergreen hosted a Christmas event,
cool.
And they, said, dress the cars up, dress yourself up. You can win basically like season pass type of thing, which is a huge savings. And I went a little overboard, which will be a theme here. I had red vinyl laying around.
Wait, hang on. Overboard?
They're all there. I don't even have to try.
They're all there.
I don't even have to try at this point.
I'm going to keep calling them out, though.
So yeah,
just so that the viewing audience can catch what we're doing here. They're still completely lost on all the general references at this point.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
They're never going to see that coming.
So yeah, this was 2020 Christmas event. Dress your car up, you can win something. And I had red pieces of plastic from like a scrapyard we had laying around. I was like, could just cut those and make the whole thing into a sleigh. I had some vinyl. It wasn't like vehicle wrapping vinyl, so like I cut 12-inch strips of vinyl and just laid it as best I could. There were seams, there were wrinkles, like it doesn't stretch, like it wasn't meant for it. But in a picture like this, it looks great. It's also why I didn't wrap the front bumper, because there's no way that would have worked out well.
It would have just looked like a push bumper. It would have just been a flat piece of vinyl.
Oh yeah, like it would have been terrible. There would have been wrinkles all over it. I was like, this is good enough.
So the sides were plastic.
The very back of the sides were plastic, from the back door back.
I know. I thought they were wood. I don't know why.
No, they were just this like PVC polystyrene plastic that, like I said, I found, and I was like, oh, this could be useful. I was gonna make interior panels out of it, and ended up what was beneath the door panels was actually good enough for me. So I was like, I don't even need to use it. So it was sitting around, and then I think next pictures I have it lit up. So I also put lights on it. And that event, so I ended up, I think I drove half the event and broke the stub axle in the diff. So the car ended up going back on the trailer fairly early, and I never got pictures at night of it actually lit up and drifting. So that was kind of disappointing. But
So what was the name on it?
So that was
Read it.
the Slayer.
Okay, all right.
Again, it was fitting. It was one of those, little wordplay here and there.
Yeah.
So I did not win that year. I know.
Who won?
Martha, you had to see her car. She put a full Christmas tree in the back. It was fully lit up, fully garlanded out, balls everywhere. The whole interior was done up with lights. Like she spent the entire day of the drift event and the day before just doing the car. It was.
I need to see it.
And then she took it out drifting and balls everywhere on the track, and it was a show.
Yeah. So.
But you had gotten like what, second? Did we?
I got second. Yeah, I got second that year, so I got a couple events for each
Right.
next year. And then that same winter, so I picked up this. I call it the scooter bobber now. Bottom picture there is how I picked it up. And then the top picture is what it looks like now. And if you've been to Evergreen, you've seen that riding around. I know Dave in drivers' meetings has pointed it as whatever that is, because it's a 125 Kawasaki. Like, it struggles to get out of its own way. Like, it barely does 55 mile an hour. Like, it's a full, streetable bike.
Yeah.
But it was small, and everybody at the track uses, small 50s and pit bikes and whatnot, and I'm a little fat for that. So I was like, I want something bigger. Something that I'm not like a circus clown on.
Yeah.
So I picked that up and kind of made it into a pretty sweet bobber, and then made a mount for the front of the motorhome. So it mounts on the front of the motorhome, comes with me to the track. And then the idea behind that was we need to make a parts run, you know, something like that. Just have a backpack. It's street legal. I can run out to the parts store on that. I don't have to. The motorhome being, you know, my tow vehicle, I can't just unhook. I have to also put awnings in and put stairs up.
Yeah.
Unlevel it, and it's kind of annoying. So, yeah, that came together pretty nice that year. And then this was the year of the gears. So same black car, gold cage, gold wheels, big wing. I just took the previous year's livery off, and we kind of started calling ourselves as our team the Skid Happy Fellas. And so Skid Happy Fellas down the side. And I wanted to go for a lowrider look where they do like the panels and everything, you know, multiple colors. I mean, they're, you know, way higher level.
Yeah.
But I was like, how can I do that with vinyl? So kind of made panels. Didn't quite turn out how I wanted, but it looked cool for the year. It was a lot of work. Like each one of those gears, I think I made 2-inch to 6-inch gears, and I just started just vinyl, like just put them in the cutter and just let them go. And I did the same couple sheets in, you know, silver, purple, and gold. Gold was reflective, and just kept printing those off and just kept filling the car.
Cover the car.
Yeah,
there was
everything on there is those gears.
Yep, and they were all individual. It wasn't single. It wasn't like a sheet of vinyl that you wrap. So there was somewhere over 1,000 individual stickers on there.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, I overdid that one. Again, there's the theme.
Yeah, it's funny because I always thought that was a full wrap.
Nope.
I never really got up on it to look at it. But
so, I mean, same with like the red vinyl for the sleigh. I started doing some vinyl stuff, you know, like on the side and like window tint and whatnot. And I found a vinyl shop that was going out of business, and ended up picking up probably $3,000 or $4,000 worth of vinyl for like $400. Like they were I just picked up all the rolls, everything like that, brought it home, and it was good for like sign vinyl. There was definitely no car stretchable vinyl, stuff like that. So all the liveries I did them in where I could cut small things, so that I didn't have to worry about stretching over curves and panels and whatnot. So, and it was, you know, in my eyes, basically free, considering, you know, it's $400, you know, investment, and I still have 50 rolls of this stuff, you know, that it's one of those stickers here and there. So yeah, that was, I guess that would have been 2021.
Yeah.
Not sure what else I had in there for pictures. Okay, so this was the same year then so the motorhome, like I said, it was a small block Chevy with a turbo 350, hitting the hills up into Hazleton and Evergreen where we always go. It was struggling towing, you know. It did it, but it wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And it had, so I weighed it once, and it was like 16,000 pounds, like total,
wow,
you know, motorhome, trailer, car, bike, everything on the front. So
yeah,
it's like, not long after I bought the motorhome, I already kind of knew it needed more. So I picked up a $1,000 Suburban, 6-liter, 4L80.
That's why I said you like it.
So then that August for 2021 was, we had an Evergreen event early July. Like, that was the hard thing about trying to do a motor swap. And the motorhome is, I don't have a garage big enough that it fits in. So it's going to either be outside or I need to do it over the summer. And over the summer, it had to be between events. Because at this point, we had gotten used to, basically, there's 4 of us that go to these events together. And, you know, I take the motorhome, and Buddy and his girlfriend share a bed, and then the other buddy sleeps in the bunk bed. So there's 4 of us in there, plus a cat. Because the buddy's girlfriend likes to bring the cat, which is now known as our track cat.
Okay.
So that's our little, you know, setup for the track, and it's super convenient. So it was one of those, like, I don't want to not have that for an event. So to get the LS swap done, it was pulled motor trans, like all that stuff from the Suburban pre-event, started tearing it apart, did the same thing like I did on the Magnum motor, where it was, you know, gaskets, oil pump, water pump, anything to make it reliable again, you know.
Yeah.
I think it had 200-some thousand miles on it, and it was one of those, just kind of do a reset, put
roll bearings in it.
No bearings. Bearings were fine.
Cam bearings were good.
Oh, the cam bearings are definitely good.
They were fine.
Yeah.
They were fine. Definitely looked at those when I put the cam in. Because it got a Brian Tooley, stage 2 truck, going cam, just to help a bit in springs. And then stabbed that in. So from that early August event to the early July event to the late August event, I ended up having 6 weeks. And we, I spent 5 of those weeks pretty much, by myself, just pushing, getting the motor done, did, shift kit in the trans, supposedly 4L60s, bolt right in on the stock mounts. 80s don't, you got to redo the mount a bit for the rear trans mount. Otherwise though, being a G10, G30 van, you just follow C10 swap stuff. So it was the same motor mount, same,
Nice.
headers, all that kind of stuff. Just thinned the wiring harness, stock ECU, they kept those vans around for a while. So into the late 80s, they turned into fuel injected, motors in them. So they have tanks that fit them that are already fuel injected tanks.
Oh,
So you
nice.
don't have to do any sump pumps or anything like that. So grab the newer tank, put a pump in it and a hanger, and just took that out and slapped it in. So now it's a new tank and already
Cool.
set up for fuel injection and has a little basket in it.
Yeah.
But then basically last week of leading up to that event, it's one of those you're like, motor's in, it's close, and you know how projects go. They just keep dragging, and you're like, I only got to do this,
Yeah.
and it's every day after work. You're out there for hours, and it ended up being we took that Friday off because it was the August 3-day event, and we're like, I wanted to leave by noon, so Thursday after work I got home and just started, trying to finish everything else up I could. Buddy with a cop car, he came in, and we both kind of split some tasks. I think that the gas tank went in at 2 a.m. He was finishing wiring, I was finishing that. I think first startup was 4 a.m. that day.
Wow.
And that was open header in the garage, in a general suburban neighborhood. And it was just it was a key on, pump worked, it started, shut off. We're like, okay.
Yeah. We continue with other things now that we know that it runs, and then when it's
then,
a little closer to reasonable hour, we can
Right.
let it run a little longer.
It was, HP Tuners download so we can actually do delete the VATs and whatnot and get it to run. And then we ended up, of course, it didn't go smooth in the morning. It was when we finally did get to that point. It was 6 a.m. Started, I think it was power steering pump was leaking.
Oh.
And you're like, and you're sitting there looking at it. You're like, well, parts store opens at 7. He's going, I haven't packed anything. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go home, go get a couple of parts, pack some of his stuff. I'm going to wait for the parts store to open, grab stuff, come back. We'll meet back here.
Yeah.
So we got the pump changed out. That was good. Started it, and it was missing. One of those and at some point while I had the intake off, dirt got on the injectors from where it was sitting. We ended up pulling those, cleaning those. It was just that little stuff, all morning. And then, I want to say 11 o'clock that day, we ended up, it was one of those, it was okay, runs, great, whatnot. Go to put it in gear, and it had one, and it wouldn't, it didn't want to reshift into other gears. And that was probably our lowest point. We were like, it's not going to make it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to go home, get the girlfriend ready, get the car ready, load the car, all that kind of stuff for his. And I was like, I'm going to pull the pan, I'm going to look at it, Luckily pulled the pan, and I screwed up putting the valve body back on and the little plunger that goes back and forth for the gear selector. I didn't get it in the right, between the right two little barbells.
Oh.
I was off, so it was just kind of wedging itself. So, one of those, tore it apart, put it back together the right way, had all the gears. One of those, you can tell, I think he called me. He was like, hey, did you figure it out? I was like, yes.
As a matter of
both
fact,
of our
I
moves
did.
went way higher. So 12 o'clock, about the time we were like, this is when we want to leave. We were like, okay, I'm going to finish putting it back together.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 o'clock we went out for our first test drive. Probably 4 miles just round the block a couple times.
It worked. Let's
It
load up and
worked.
go.
We looked at each other. We're like, so good enough to put a trailer on and drive it an hour and a half? Sure. And that's what we did. So, finished loading. I think we left at like 4 o'clock. So I think that's when the event started.
Yeah.
So we were late, but we made it and it worked. The exhaust was terrible.
Oh, because it was open header still, wasn't it?
It was open headers with. No, I did make. I had some glass packs laying around that I just welded together, and they were terrible. It was absolutely miserable. But it was one of those like. I got a message that Sunday when we were leaving the track. So Evergreen has this huge hill coming out of the track, like up the mountain. So trying to climb the hill, and you don't have a run up to it. Like it's like turns a corner and like you go straight up, and it was flat to the floor, screaming. 2 minutes later, I got a message from one of the people that's still at the track. They're like, "What the hell was that?" I was like, "I know it's bad. Trust me. I wish I had earplugs in the motorhome."
You think it's bad out there? You
I
should
still got
hear
another
it in here.
Yeah. So that was, the next best thing to happen for the motorhome was putting a 6-liter in it. It tows amazing now.
Yeah.
It'll cruise the highway at like 70, So for a 70s motorhome towing another, car trailer.
Yeah, everyone next to you was like, "Holy cow!" I was
Like it's
thinking
still
70.
moving. Yeah, exactly.
70.
And you're like, is it towing a boat? Yeah.
With
So.
I can't skip to that part. With something else.
Right. So, yeah, that was the adventure for there. And then I think we go into Christmas for the next year. So after I lost that first year, I was like, well, what else can I do even better? And the best I could come up with was just cover and Christmas lights. Covered.
Wow, really
every
covered.
spare Christmas light that we had was, it was used.
Yeah.
And I just got those the little sticky squares for a zip tie, and I just put them in strategic places, pretty much outlined the car, and then just went back through like every 4 inches and just ran lights in between, and they stayed on. I don't know if, so I did have a short video in that flash drive. I got caught Christmas Day coming back from my sister's house. Someone just friend of a friend on Facebook, and I get tagged in it, and because I drove it to my sister's for Christmas, lights on and everything.
Yeah.
And it's that video, it's just me rolling down the highway and them in the car laughing their ass off, going, "What is this?" Because it looked like a disco ball just cruising down the street.
Yeah.
Did you have it powered off the alternator, or you had like a
Inverter off the
Inverter,
battery,
yeah.
yeah. Which I used the same thing the year before, because like the Santa and whatnot and the lights.
Yeah,
that
you
were
had the
on
lights
it,
on
it
the
was
back
the same
and stuff,
thing.
yeah. Back to the beginning.
Should have been. So yeah, the Christmas lights. I said that year was 2021. So then I technically tied that year. Me and another guy, we tied, and still got a free year.
Yeah.
So that was this past year, which then over the winter, then it was taking all of those gears off, taking all the Christmas lights off, kind of doing a reset.
Yeah.
And then I don't think any of the pictures of the motorhome showed it. It was me and a bunch of the friends. We're talking, we're joking. I made that. I had that pit bike that I was driving around. The motorhome. I don't know why. I just always wanted bull horns, like big 5-6 foot wide bull horns on something.
Uh-huh.
So I had them on the motorhome for a while, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, I found a little set. You can put them on the bike, drive around."
Yeah.
And then that started the next conversations of basically like, what do we want to do for the next year? So then we started talking. It was like, well, we could do like a Dukes of Hazzard thing. But in my head, so there was 3 of us driving at that point. It was, I was like, well, I have the convertible. If I paint it white and put horns in the front, I can be Boss Hog. And then we had the other buddy's got a 4-door, same E46. We're like, we can put police lights on yours and you can do Roscoe.
Yeah.
And then the other buddy had a 2-door coupe on with a Nissan 240. We're like, well, we can paint his like the General Lee, and the three of us can go out and chase each other around track all day.
Yeah.
He wasn't quite there in terms of like driving with us and tandeming and whatnot. So I think it was 2021 season where we progressed really well with our driving. We figured out some things. I figured out some tire things, and it just made driving a lot better for us. And like we got to that point where we could tandem and we were close and we were comfortable with each other.
Gotcha.
So we ended up changing a bit, and I ended up doing the General Lee on my car, still did cop car, for Roscoe's, and then, pictures like that was then this 2022 season.
Yeah, there's the cop car.
And then with the cop car behind it.
That first event, I was like, that's the coolest shit ever.
I know, it was great. And Chris had an amazing picture, I think it's like third one in there, of these, where typical Roscoe fashion, he's, off in the dirt, so cop car's off in the dirt, we're both, just having a great time. I think that was first event, that was before a couple of our crashes, so, like, the picture was perfect, we were super happy, just the reception it got,
All year, I've been live streaming at the drift events on our TikTok page. It's up there. And like everybody's like, is that a freaking General Lee? Is that a General Lee?
Well, I saw him on 61 in Leesport the one day, and I'm like, the General Lee, the convertible BMW General Lee. I was like, yes, that's better than seeing a normal General Lee.
I drove it to Ocean City for spring cruise.
Okay.
And there was another real one. And then there was like a Ford Fusion painted as one too. I was like, what? And I never found them like in a parking lot. So it was always like three of us just randomly passing each other. And it was like, what? But yeah, it was one of those, childhood, loved Dukes of Hazzard. So it was one of those. It was simple, painted the car.
Yeah.
And the car both of our cars are painted with tractor paint. So TikTok brought me to it where, it was one of those, it's like, okay, like I went down the whole rabbit hole of Dukes of Hazzard, paint colors and like history and stuff like that. And there's a whole, what's the correct color, what's not.
It's funny you say that, because I listened to this podcast where they were reviewing episodes of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay.
They landed on Corvette Flame Red as the color.
That is the unofficial correct color.
Yeah.
So if you paint it Corvette Flame Red, it is acceptable, basically. However, from what I found was, so General Lee #1 was found in like someone's backfield junkyard type of thing, and someone bought it for like $400. However, it was repainted green because like 4th or 5th episode of the first season, they needed another car. They needed a wrecked race car.
Yeah.
And they wrecked the first General Lee like in that that first episode. So they ended up just taking it because it was sitting off to the side, painted it, put it on a trailer, towed it behind the General Lee because they were towing a wrecked race car somewhere. And then somewhere after that, so Lee 1 as it was called, just kind of went to the wayside because it was painted green, it had a different number on it, like nobody really knew it. But I think within that, the original painter ended up taking the trunk off of it and like hung it up in his garage, like on the wall.
Okay.
So it was inside, not under, direct sunlight. It didn't fade, anything like that, for like 20-some years before it was kind of rediscovered.
Yeah.
And so they actually took it to, with the new technologies,
scan the paint.
scanned it. It comes up as TNT Express, which is actually, so however it was painted, it was just a mixture. It was somebody painted it, oh, this is a cool color, we got it.
Yep.
Over those years, though, some company in Europe, TNT Express Shipping, ended up with the same color. So when it comes up in a system, like in a color database, it comes up as TNT Express.
Interesting.
So that is what I have found as the correct color. And within TikTok, it brought me to some guy who does like restorations or like stunt cars and whatnot, and he's like, so out of these 4 General Lees in my yard, 2 of them are painted Corvette Flame Red, the other 2 are Kubota Orange. So that's what...
So Kubota Orange is the color.
That's what that car's been all year, and nobody, you know, it's not like it's ever been next to another one.
Yeah.
Like, oh, those colors don't match. So, like, it's a close enough color match that everybody looks at it and goes, yeah, that looks like the General Lee.
The
Do
General
you
Lee.
remember when we
Paint
were at
price
Carlisle?
differences.
Oh, yeah, it was a $100 paint job.
When we were at Carlisle and you looked at the General Lees, do you remember how many different shades of orange there were?
Honestly, I didn't take notice to that. I'd have to go back and look at the video because I have video of
Yeah.
the whole entire line and like
I've
the
seen those
'Cause
pictures,
there's-
and you can look at all the different shades as it changes down the line.
People have used Hemi Orange, the Corvette Flame Red, AMC Big Bad Orange was another color that people have
Yep.
used. And it's like, that will be a timeless argument as what color was the General Lee actually.
Yep.
People will still continue to argue it.
It's
even
orange.
it works.
I thought
For the price?
I thought the cop
so-
cars were cooler because they had one of the actual cop cars from the show. and
Yeah.
I was more interested in that than all the General Lee replicas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got seriously grossed out when they had that new freaking Charger. That
Oh,
was
that was
General Lee.
terrible,
I
yeah.
wanted to vomit. New 4-door. All
Yeah, they just, it's one of those, it just depends on where in the series you pick from, because, like, yeah, I mean, they wrecked so many of them that, like, I heard there was people that were, you know, like, you'd be at a gas station, you know, and if you were driving a 68, 69 Charger, you know, and, like, this guy, he'd come up to you and be like, hey, we'll buy that from you, you know,
Yeah.
and
We
offer
need
it.
that.
And they would literally just paint the car, usually not paint the engine bay, you know, whatever it was, because that's the restoration ones, you know. It's like, oh, is it painted body color or is it painted black? Because that was a, you know, Mopar thing. And then interior colors are the same, you know. What steering wheel did it have, all of that. And you're like, oh, well, you look at this show and it had this one and this one had this one because
Yeah.
they just had a car. And then they wrecked it and they moved on to the next one.
that was
So
the
if you
stunt
go
car.
by the first, you know, what, like I said, what they called Lee 1, you know, you said that one was physically found. So they had some more data on that.
Cool.
So I feel like I went down the rabbit hole
Yes.
for a BMW.
Yeah, yeah, for
You
sure.
went
But
deep.
for some reason, like, I found all of
But
that.
now you have like a history lesson to
I
like
know.
tell everybody.
I know. So I feel, you know, good about it. You know, at least put some research into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, like I said, mine was Kubota Orange, and his was just like the Lost White, you know, whatever. I don't even know if it was branded, if it was John Deere or Cat or something like that.
Yeah.
They're literally, you know, gallon of paint, you know, reducer and hardeners are $20 pre-mixed. Like, you go to Tractor Supply and it's just around $100, you know, everything like that.
That's a cheap paint job.
I know, and it works. I mean, it's held up. It's tractor paint. It's
Yeah.
supposed to take a beating, and it looked fine from, you know, pictures and 20 feet away. Both of our cars had runs in them, whatnot, but they worked. So that's how they were all season. We had a great time with those, and then as we
Halloween
get to
came.
then Halloween came. And we get back. We get back on the you know. You never, Evergreen never did a Halloween decorating.
No,
per
we
se.
decided to do that this year to change it up, and we did the Halloween decorating contest.
So yeah, it moved from Christmas to Halloween, and then this is one of those where, like, I had won the year before, so like I felt good about that, and I was like, I don't want to overdo it again this year, and like I kind of wanted to give other people, I don't want to say a chance, but like I didn't want to like put all that time and effort and like really like super try to win. I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll help out on the buddies' cars. You know, like maybe we can get one of them to win. And they can win a season pass and whatnot. And then I don't know, just the way my brain works, it's one of those. It honestly started with the jet ski motorcycle because they've been around. You were just talking about Gymkhanas. Did you see the one in that?
Yeah.
I was like, really?
There it is.
There's one. But yeah, I mean, I know there's ones rolling around Florida and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I've seen people do them before.
And that's kind of where it started because I got that jet ski like 8 or 10 years ago. And we had access to a farm, and there was a pond at the farm. And we're sitting there one night, the girls are out in a rowboat fishing. We're sitting on a buddy's rollback, and we're like, man, like, this is just big enough for a jet ski. Marketplace, you know. Not much later, I think that night I bought a $300 jet ski. So I was we then, used his rollback as like a portable dock, and just backed up to the pond and would drop the deck and slide down it, rode around the pond all summer. We had a great time, and ended up end of that summer and like breaking the jet ski. Just simple thing like steering, broke a cable to the nozzle, but it was end of the season, so it got put away. And then we didn't have access to the pond the next year, so it just sat in my buddy's warehouse for the last 8 years.
Wow.
And it was one of those every once in a while. It's like, hey, that thing's still sitting there. I was like, I know. I was like, and in the back of my head, I wanted to do one of those jet ski, scoot ski, motorcycle type of things. And I think that's where the boat idea finally kind of evolved out of. It was one of those. It was like, what if, just one of those nights. It was like texting the guys, said 4 days later, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to do anything big, and then like 4 days later, I was like, but what if? I was like, what if I put a boat over the car? I was like, it doesn't sound too hard. It'll be fun. It'll be a laugh. And started searching and probably searched for like 2 weeks, talked to one or two people, couldn't come up on a deal on one. Like the boat just wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I was pretty much, in my eyes, on the last weekend. Like that was like a Saturday. I looked at one, we couldn't come to a deal. Saturday night, I'm still searching Marketplace, and I'm like, this one's pretty, this one looks pretty good. And it was up for free. It was just motorhomes and boats are hard to get rid of. Like if they don't run, like you can't take them to a scrapyard and get paid for them. You have to pay somebody to take them, or cut them apart to take them. Yeah. So, guy was looking to get rid of it, and I was like, Saturday night I'm there messaging him. He's like, yeah, we can do that. Like, tomorrow 8 a.m. So Sunday morning, I'm out there. He was 2 miles from my house, so it was closer than some of the other boats I looked at. So boat, trailer, just as it was. And it was a super close, almost color match to my truck, which then...
Actually, it is.
I know, it was weird. I pulled up, I was like, oh, that's not bad.
Looks like it belongs there.
That's another, that was a Rust-Oleum paint job. That was actually with cans. So, and that one's... No, they don't make turbo cans in colors.
So now, when you were looking for the boat, did you have, like, measurements that you needed to hit? Like... Was there any
vaguely
thought into this, or was this like we're just gonna get the boat and then try it? And
there was some like I took measurements of the car, and then like so when I went to look at boats, I kind of judged to make it look like it was like okay, it's wide enough, or like this one might be a problem here, type of deal. I know the other one I looked at was close, but it was a V-nose type boat, so I was worried about like the front, and like I knew I'd have to cut out for like wheels and tires and like have that, and I mean, I got super lucky, with this boat, this aesthetic, like the width, the shape, I think it's like 3 or 4 feet longer than the car. So it's a 19-foot Johnson Surfer 210. And it was one of those, when I finally got it home, like it was too good of a deal being free. I was like, I'll figure out how to make it work. Yeah. So I brought it home, and just as it was sitting on the trailer, I was like, well, I need to figure out, like, I need the general body. So there was a small block Chevy in it, the outboard, or the, like, the inboard, jet drive and all that was still on the back of it. So that probably took the longest, trying to get that unbolted and out of the way. I left the motor in it and literally just laid underneath the boat and just started cutting right next to the sides, same along the back, and then across the front, combination between, Sawzall and a cutting wheel and, grinder. Yep. And then backed it up to my swing set and strapped it to the swing set, just the actual axle straps that I use, for the car, and just started strapping it up, 2 on each side. Got it all the way up, high enough that I could get because the motor was still attached to the boat, to get the motor out from underneath the boat as I drove it away. And then...
that's the motor sitting on the back of the trailer.
See it, yep.
It was one of those, I didn't have
the boat
engine.
too, right?
Huh?
The floor of the boat's
and
on
the floor of the boat, yeah. Like I said, I just cut it off as it sat on the trailer, and then drove the trailer out from underneath it with everything attached. boat was just hanging there, and then I think next picture shows the car underneath it, or just hanging. And
nice flowers in the picture.
Yeah, it was a real nice place to work.
Artsy shot.
And then
sideways.
Yeah, that was one of those. It was like, okay, well, like I cut a general giant hole, started backing the car in underneath. I'm like, well, everything looks like it's gonna work. First thing I had to do was take the mirrors off. Other than that, just kind of.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, he's got a little.
So those are Harley mirrors.
Okay.
From an old Harley I had. I was like, oh, these were about the right size, like shape, and like I can bolt them on pretty easy.
Yeah.
Those aren't my finest work. Those were a last minute. I had them. I'd like to remount them actually on the boat body.
Okay, there, yeah.
Because when you lift the boat, it touches the mirrors and like pushes past them, and then you have to readjust them again.
I got you.
But it worked. It made it road legal. So then, it was basically. So that was that Sunday. I picked it up, cut the boat off of the boat, hung it from the swing set, drove the car underneath it, and that night I had lowered the boat round to the car. So by like 6 o'clock that night, it was looking like it was going to work.
Yeah.
And then that was a Sunday. The next Saturday, I ended up spending that day making the mounts. So then, like, the mounts are built just like bash bars, so right off the front bumper mount and the rear bumper mount. And I spent a little bit of extra time on the front one, which I'm really glad I did. So the front one is basically tube goes across and then cups that are on the boat, so it mounts and it pivots. So I just threw some grease in there, and people said it was kind of like a reverse funny car. So you can unbolt the boat from 4 bolts in the rear, like what's shown on the screen. And for the first event, it was just 2 buddies. Hey, can you lift this? So we'd grab the back of the boat, lift it, put 2x4s underneath it, and I could change tires. And then, like I said, that worked out, better than anticipated. The picture that was up, and like you see like the decking on it and whatnot, that is, Lowe's, like your grandma's, wall paneling for the basement.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those, what is the cheapest, quickest thing I can find that is big enough that I can, make it look like a wood deck and cover the holes.
Yeah.
And it hasn't held up so well in the rear.
No?
Those 2 panels, there should be 2 panels in the back.
Oh, okay.
They're in the motorhome.
They came off?
They got knocked off a couple times at the Evergreen event, and they just kept falling off at the Drifters of December event that I went to. So they got wet. They were MDF. They just, the screws just keep pulling through them. So that will be changed for next year. It was supposed to be a joke for a weekend, so I didn't really put a lot of time or money into it. I was like, oh, this is fine. Just screw it right down. It's great.
Yeah.
And, the Evergreen guys liked me at that first event, showing up. I have an anchor in the car, so I threw that out when I got to tech.
So what happened with the Halloween? Did you make it with this?
Yeah. So this went to the Halloween event. That's where the first viral video of it came from.
Okay.
And
this is the one everybody's seen online.
Everybody's seen that one, and that was my literal first run. So I had a buddy who was helping somebody else do an alignment on his car, and he was like, when like people were like, "Oh, the boat's going," like everybody walked up to the fence, and he said like everyone got quiet because everybody was like, "Is this gonna work?" And I'm in the car doing the same thing. I'm like, I have no idea if this is gonna work.
Just waiting for this to go.
I was like, is it gonna fly off? Is it gonna be too heavy? Is it gonna like just not work? So that was very first lap. So it was, the video timing of it was perfect. Second lap, I ended up breaking an axle. And that kind of got me a little down because I was like, oh man, like the boat's just too much weight. Like I'm going to break axles all day. So I went in, changed the axle, and bumped tire pressures up even more, which on these stock power Beamers, tire pressures, people always said about like, don't overinflate a tire. Yeah, I don't believe any of it anymore.
Really?
Because when we started, people were like, oh, you got to put a bunch of tire pressure in them. So like tire machine that we use goes up to like 55 pounds before like, you know, its regulator does its thing. And we're like, oh, that's good. You know, went to an event. We're like, oh, we're still struggling. Guy was like, well, what kind of tire pressure you have in there? He was like, 55, 60. He was like, oh, no, you got to bump that up. I was like, what? So we started running 70, 80, and they last. You know, like they don't explode unless you go down to the cords and explode them, which we've done plenty of times.
Yeah.
It's a loud bang, but other than that, you know, they're... So when I went back into the pits that time, I was like, I think I was at 75, 80 pounds. I was like, 90, 95, here we come. And that's what it's been running. So...
that's like heavy duty truck
I
type
know.
tire pressures. That's
and
crazy.
these are in, you know, some 17-inch 225 45s. Nothing regular car tire. And, I mean, that's kind of where the, you know, the boat just started.
Oh, was that
from
the
there.
pumpkin smash?
Yeah, that was pumpkin smashing.
Which then, that was another part of the day that went incredibly above and beyond what I expected. You know, it was one of those, you know, like, I expected, I wasn't sure if the boat would make it to the night. You know, I thought the first time it hit anything, like
It was gonna
fiberglass
break
was going to
apart, yeah.
explode, whatnot. And then, like, it made it through the day. Like, we ended up having a couple, you know, tire hits and, you know, whatnot, and the boat took all of it. And then we got to the night for the pumpkin smash, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. I was like, who cares if I smash the boat at this point? And then it went so much better than expected. I think I just contributed to the fact that I'm used to the car being so long and staying so far off the wall that then putting another 3 feet on the back of the boat just put it perfectly next to the wall.
Right, without
And,
even
like,
trying, yeah.
It was just me being comfortable and not being like, it was one of those, it was like, this is where I'm comfortable driving because I know the car doesn't hit the wall here. But then I added 3 feet on the back, so I think my mind just kind of went.
Who got that first shot? Because that shot's like pretty epic.
Where he came through hitting the pumpkins there?
Yeah, like,
that's
this
awesome.
first
That
shot,
one
like-
was, I think that was Damien Scott with the
Oh,
Smile
was it
Factory.
Damien? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah, that's where I
pretty
got
wild
that
shot.
from. But yeah, that was, like I said, I feel like I just,
So did you guys do reverse and
Yes.
forward? Because
Yeah.
that's like the other videos I saw, you're running forward with the boat.
they did both. Forward, you know, requires a little more commitment and speed, and because we run reverse all the time, I think it opened up the field to having more people run it.
Right.
I know their big concern was the
The edge of the wall there.
Right, the edge of the wall with the
Dangerous
tire.
spot, yeah. And you're aiming for the wall. Somebody's going to hit that one day and get really effed up. It's going to happen. It's just
Tom
a
hit it
dangerous
already.
spot. He hit the tire, though.
He did, but the wall's right behind it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
What I'm worried about is, like, a lot of times that tire gets, like, moved. It'll get
Uh-huh.
hit and bumped, and it won't get moved back. So it leaves the edge of that guardrail
that
exposed.
could really, yeah.
One of you guys hits that guardrail, you're tearing the car in half.
Oh, wow.
It's gonna go right through the sheet metal.
I mean,
The edge of
that's
that's not-
basically what some of those guys were doing at the Pumpkin Smash. You know, there was at least 2 cars that were totaled on purpose.
Yeah.
You know,
That-
it was
that's
end
the
of the
new thing.
season.
Yeah, that's the
It's
new
end of the
thing.
season. We don't really care. Like, we're going to do a new chassis next year. So, like,
So
they're not
smash it
worried
up.
about touching the wall. Like, they're fine smashing into the wall. And E36s are known for as soon
mean,
as they touch the wall.
Tom graced the wall pretty good too. I've seen the picture all 4 up in the air.
Oh yeah, he bunny hopped up the wall somehow. Yeah, he came in. It got slick on the pumpkins, and so like he came in and it just straightened, and then it kind of pushed him up like perfectly sideways, and I want to say the tire, he was still turned into it, so it climbed the wall, and however it climbed, it just bunny hopped like
stayed
all
straight.
4 wheels off the ground. It didn't go up the wall; it
Yeah.
was just along the wall. It was like blink.
So the pictures, it looks like the car's literally floating in the air.
There's a couple like perfect like sequence pictures where it's
Yeah.
like bing, 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 bing. And you're like 6 pictures in a row, and it's him doing a bunny hop over the wall.
And it's like,
How?
my mind cannot comprehend
Oh,
how
yeah.
that happened.
And I'm sitting over in grid, and I'm like, oh man, like he had the girlfriend in the car with him, like that's hit on the passenger side. And he comes around, and they go back out, and you know, we have radios. I'm like, you guys good? He's like, oh yeah, we're great. You know, she was like, oh, that was fun. And nothing was wrong with the car.
Yeah.
Like the car was fine. We were surprised, you know, nothing was bent or broken or whatnot. So
I think he hit it, like you said, it was like
It
just
was
the
perfect.
perfect angle of the tire, just it impacted with the side. He probably got on the gas right as the back tire was against it, so it helped pop
just
it up. And
popped up. He drove away. The only thing it did do was shift the rad a tiny bit, which that car's been hitting the front before. So it pushed the expansion tank into the power steering pulley, which then put a hole in it and made a coolant leak.
Yeah.
So we didn't find that until like 6 laps into the next day.
Oh.
Because we looked at it in the morning. We were like, I mean, suspension's fine. Like, all of this, like, that's the normal play that's in there.
Yeah.
You know, it wiggles a lot, but he's like, oh, yeah, that's normal. I'm driving that on here. It's great. And
Wow.
then, yeah, like 6 laps in, he's like, someone's like, hey, you're leaking a lot of coolant. So
Like, shit.
I was like, oh, okay. So it wasn't completely unscathed, but, like, honestly, for what it was a good hit.
Yeah, if I can only lose a coolant overflow tank,
And we had
like that, I'd
spares.
be like, let's go.
That's a thing we've done before too. So we had a spare, just not with us. So he was like, I'm good. Like, I had a good weekend. So he ended up, parking it and fixing it for the winter now. So yeah, then like I said, between the pumpkin smash and everything, and then that day we were out with the Schmalls doing photos for, between cars, and that's where that that amazing shot came from, which I've been using a ton for thumbnails and
shout out to Evergreen Sunsets.
yeah,
That is so cool.
They make great pictures. Shout out to Chris Schmal too.
yeah, that was a great picture.
A lot of these are his pictures. I know. Shout out to Joey Bars. He threw in some of the media that we've used today and throughout the week to advertise this. So,
Yeah. And then so I mean the Evergreen event went ridiculous. Like I said, that first video was somewhere in 2 million views by the end of the weekend, and just this past week it went over 6 million.
It's over 6.
Wow.
So
And that's just the original. Like,
that's just that first
a
one.
lot
that we
of the
watched.
stolen ones have a couple million on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
because I think it was a stolen one is where I first saw
Yeah,
it.
that's where I mean.
yeah, there was I saw it posted a couple places all over, and I saw it on. Someone stole that picture and put twin turbos on it, sticking out the hood with an LS for some, and it's like, I mean, that's awesome, but like, that's not what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like it to be that, but I can't.
Hey,
afford
look at that.
that.
Chris Small just got in just as time as we're all
Now we're all
stroking his
talking
ego.
about So
Got
yeah,
it just in time. That's funny.
that was one of those where I was like, all right, well, the boat's getting traction, and the boat's going somewhere, so I'm leaning into it, and I'm it's where I started the YouTube channel, started posting a lot more on the Instagrams and the TikToks, and putting stuff out there, content with it, and that's where it kind of came up to be, make it better. So
So
headlights.
that's the future plans. Is you
Well,
gonna
yeah,
stick
even
with
since
it?
then, yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
Even
So they're just
since
big
then-
big round headlights.
Yep, Speedway motors, just a typical like
Okay.
hot rod headlight.
Because I was wondering, like, if you cut it open and just
I wanted to.
use the factory headlights.
I
but
wanted to. I thought it was going to work that way, and once I got it all set down where I wanted it to, the little swoops under there weren't high enough kind of arch, so they just hit underneath it.
Gotcha.
So it was sketchy at Evergreen that night. Like, I didn't have headlights. Like, it was so like when you get into like the hairpins, like the horseshoes,
Yeah,
there's
it's
no
very
lights in there,
dark.
and it's pretty dark.
Yeah.
So you're just guessing, where you're at. But yeah, so before I took it to Allentown for the Sloppy Mechanics Dyno Day, I was like, I'm driving it there. So those headlights, the only thing that was a pain on those was because I hung them upside down. The bulbs were then going to be upside down, and they're
gotcha.
notched on the inside so that they stay that way. So I just had to re-notch the housing so I could flip them back over so that they would actually, low beam, high beam, have the right cutoff on
Yeah.
them. Some motorcycle turn signals, and then those are right
up
by
top,
that bar.
yeah. I see, okay.
They I tried to stick with that 60s theme, and then the taillights are 66, 67 Mustang taillights.
Huh.
And they, like I said, I felt like they just fit the theme better than trailer. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
either do the ovals or the rounds
Yeah,
or something like that. And I was like, these have a little more style, and they were only $50 a piece anyways. So, and I know where to get them if I,
Exactly,
break
yeah.
them, put the license plate on it and whatnot, and so drove that, hour up to Allentown, hour back, no problems, lots of looks.
Have you ever been stopped just for the cop to be like, I just got to know what's going on with this thing. It's so cool.
Not yet.
No, okay.
Not yet.
I'm sure that
It will
conversation's
happen.
coming at some point.
It will happen, I'm sure. feel like it's as close to legal as it can be. You know,
I would.
inspected, insured, registered, headlights, taillights, turn signals, license plate, light bulb, reverse light, like all that stuff's on there. So side mirrors. Only thing that could be questionable is actual boat body. So
Yeah.
I did my best on that as I could, so I don't get harassed on it, because I do want to drive it. You know, I drove it to work one day. You know, that was the day after Halloween. We had or I think it was that Tuesday. We had a Halloween like contest at work. I was like, well, I'm dressing up again, because I dressed up as Forrest Gump, which is where the whole Jenny theme came from. There were so many different, options you could have gone from, Barnacle Boy and Invisible Boat Car, or SpongeBob, and, Jenny and Pirate Wise. So I landed on Jenny. I thought that was, I might have in the back of my head went that way because I knew who was judging the competition. And it was the kitchen staff is a little bit older, and I thought the Jenny and Forrest Gump was going to hit better with them rather than SpongeBob. I feel like was a little bit of the younger, under 30s crowd.
Play into the audience.
I was like, I'm gonna go that way a bit. So now it has a name. Like I was gonna do it in vinyl, but I was like, he literally just painted it.
Painted it like
I
that.
was like,
Perfect.
I'm going out there. I was like, you know what? Okay. Painted it on, and so yeah, like I said, did headlights, taillights, went up to that dyno day, found out it made 190 horsepower, which was better than expected.
Yeah.
We were expecting like 160s. And then in between that time, basically like the, what we called it, the scooter bobber, my other pit bike.
Yeah.
Basically went back to the roots of the jet ski, motorcycle. I think a lot of people call them scoot skis. And I had that jet ski, so I was like, well, I have to.
Yeah.
It's the only logical, pit bike to now have.
Yeah, exactly.
So I spent, a couple weeks putting that together. My biggest problem was always finding what I wanted for the motorcycle underneath. A lot of people do them with scooters because the shape is the right size. The seat kind of comes down, you just have the neck up for the steering.
Yep.
My problem was like I wanted it to be decently rideable, so like 50cc scooters out, I'm a big guy to start with, like they'll do 35 mile an hour. I had a 150 before, and that one's similar to the scooter bobber, where it'll do like it'll do like 55 mile an hour. I was like, with a boat body, it's probably going to be like 50. Like I can't ride that on the highway.
Yeah.
So my struggle was always finding, so I put a 250cc scooter underneath it, and that was another one where it, like, things lined up better than they should have. Like, the length of it was perfect. Like, the rear tire stops right before the back of the jet ski.
Yeah.
And where the stem for the steering and everything had to mount, because it was a bigger scooter, it had basically the fairings off the front weren't mounted to the forks. They're mounted like around, so the forks actually spin in between like the fairing and like the gauge cluster and like the headlights and that. And being a 250, it was water cooled instead of the other stuff is a lot of air cooled on those. And the radiator is mounted right up front on this little bracket. And after cutting off the ears of that bracket to the like side view mirrors and whatnot, it fits in the jet ski perfectly underneath the front cover, and there's a vent right in front of it that was on the jet ski. I was like, I couldn't have planned it better.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, like, I took it off when I first started, like, putting it all back together. I was like, that might actually fit back in there. I started cutting it, put it back in. I was like, it mounts to exactly where it would have. So all the coolant lines are the same, everything, like, a couple extra brackets here and there. Wow. And then, so, like I say, that picture's the two of them down at Summit Point. But then Summit Point was a bigger track. had a bit of a mishap, and I wrecked it pretty good. Just got off into the grass. Grass turned into like ice. And slid sideways into like a tire wall that was in front of a concrete wall, and ended up splitting the boat in half. But fixed it just like any other drift car with a ton of zip ties.
That's how you do it.
So basically, I mean, I think all boats for the most part are to be able to form fiberglass, the hulls and whatnot, you can't have like it then come back over. So you kind of needs to be two shapes. It's split. So the gunnel rails that run around it are usually where they are together, and that's where it just split. It just ended up pulling the bolts out. So after 70-some, holes drilled and zip ties put in and around, even the metal gunnel went all the way around till you got to the back corner, and then it's bent. And whatever hammer I had with me wasn't bending it back. I was like, I'm just going to zip tie this so it's in the area.
Yeah.
So, Summit Point was a great time, Got to
cool track.
big tracks, definitely out of its element, which kind of reinforced things that are going to happen for the winter for it. So,
So the plan is to put a new chassis underneath it eventually, correct? Is that going to be like this year, or is that something that's going to...
So, it has, it's based on that E46 BMW, convertible. In theory, even though it's BMW, so I don't trust it, in theory, the bumpers mounts should be at the same spots. So I have a 4-door E46 sitting in the house that was a cheap car, needed a trans, just never got to it. Started it, and then realized whoever took the trans out of it didn't leave any of the trans bolts.
Oh.
So I was like, where do I go find, spend $100 in trans bolts, so it was one of those. I started working on it, didn't get to it, ended up getting pushed back into the yard. And plan is to take that car and make that the boat 100%. Okay. So cut the roof off, cut the windshield off, like only have the boat windshield, build an like a full cage for it that mimics, a boat, something that fits a boat better. Like, because if you look at this one, like the cage sits fairly low because it sits with the windshield, whereas the boat windshield sits, 4 or 5 inches higher. Yeah. And then that being a 4-seater car, like I plan on like taking the windows out, gutting the doors, trying to save some of that weight that the boat is adding. Weld the doors shut. They're just going to be skins at that point, and then build the cage and try to put 4 seats in it, so it can be a little bit more of like an exhibition car type of thing. It's never going to be a competitive car, but it's kind of more of a sideshow, an exhibition,
fun factor,
just fun. So
let's go for a ride in the boat.
Right. So if I can give imagine getting in there with 3 of your buddies and just going for a ride in the boat.
That would be so awesome.
So that's kind of the thought process right now. And then also do probably an LS, V8 powered. It just needs more power.
It needs to throw smoke like a rooster tail.
Right. It needs a good amount of smoke coming off of it. And then just work through the details. Like from that crash, there's some things I'll have to fix. So I'm not sure if it'll get repainted this winter or not. If it does, I'm kind of stuck on what I want to do there. I like how it looks now.
Yeah.
Like it just seems...
It's a perfect color combo for
So
the
I
look you're
might
going for.
end up repainting it that same color as my truck, which is super close to that blue. So that bluish teal. And I know what color it is, so... And the jet ski is going to get painted similar, so it all matches.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that one... I mean, part of me almost wants to go like super bass boaty and like big flake,
like metal,
but like it's a struggle between do I want to go ridiculous bass boat like in your face or keep this 60s look. So I'm pretty sure it's going to stay 60s, and as it is.
I don't know how I feel about which side I'd go on with that, because I could see both happening and being pretty freaking cool.
I know. Yeah. I think maybe this year it stays this, for next year, and then if I need to switch it up for the next year, then go ridiculous, in the paint job, department.
Reoccurring brand thread here with you. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Overboard, over the top.
Over the top.
Seems to keep going that way. But
we're lucky we do. Between the General Lee and then this year, I'm like, man, this guy is just putting on a show out here.
I know. It's just a good time, and it's like I know there's some other drivers of the track that do some different things, and I haven't seen like their driving progression, progress as quick, with it. I feel like at least, like it was just, fun liveries and stuff like that. Like it was still on a proven chassis that like the E46 works, there's tons of parts out there for it, that kind of thing. So it's, like I said, we had like probably 2 or 3 events when we finally, like when everything finally clicked, where a bunch of stuff started working for me. Tom wasn't at those events, and it was one of those, I just gave him like those few pointers and the few chassis changes, and within an event he was right there with me, and being able to move up to group 3, which is tandem groups. So we had that moment of, we figured it out, this works.
Yeah.
And now it's just getting better at it. And that's one of the other things, like, I don't want to lose the boat now because of how, it went so well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I want to move it to the other chassis and then keep this car. I don't know if it'll be General Lee, but it'll probably at least still be orange, so that I have a seat time car that me and him can, we still drive together, super close, spec cars. But yeah.
So, tell everybody where they can follow you at, how to find you. I have the YouTube page up on the screen here, so
Okay. So,
you'll see that.
like I said, I started the YouTube page, boat content and some of the other things that I've been doing. It's just Brandon Tothero. That's what I did everything as. There may be some slight variations in Instagram is Brandon Tothero, no spaces. YouTube is, Brandon space Tothero. And TikTok is, I think, the same, Brandon Tothero, no spaces.
Yeah, I mean, if you type in the name, you can't find it. Chances are you can probably just type in drift boat, and you're going to pop up one of his videos that hopefully they tagged him in.
Something will come up. Should be tagged. I've seen a lot of people, thankfully, like I get multiple messages a day of like, owner is Brandon,
Right.
they tag me in it
Yeah.
on somebody else's, other video that popped up.
Yeah.
So
It's the ones they don't tag you in that you never see. Cause
right, right.
been down that road a lot. So yeah, make sure you guys go over, follow him. They said he just started the YouTube channel, so he's got 70 followers. Let's get that going up a little bit. But we all know, we talk about this every week, how hard YouTube is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're struggling with that.
We're at,
555, I believe.
I think it's 450.
Is it 450? I thought,
We
we
didn't
were
break
like 500.
500
We
yet.
didn't break 500?
Yeah, 457 I think it was this morning when I checked.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube's hard to break.
Slowly, but
It's just, like I said, we've had this discussion. I think it's the way people watch YouTube now. Most people are watching YouTube on like a Roku or a device on their TV. So you can't find the follow button on a
Okay.
TV. You got to actually go and search the account on your phone, and then
yeah.
there's nowhere to like follow somebody on a TV. Really, I don't think. I think it's just not conducive. Like, so I think that hurts a lot of people nowadays.
I heard too, like within the algorithms that, like, I don't know. I mean, once you get monetized, then your stuff seems to do better, but you have to push until you get to that monetization stage, and then after that, when they're like, oh, they are monetized, they are serious, then I think your channel goes into the algorithm a bit better.
Okay.
That's what I've heard, but I'm newer at this than you.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been good at YouTube. I had a personal page that I just posted car videos and stuff on, and that had like 250 followers on it. It was the most I ever got. So
YouTube, you got to like have like series and stuff like that.
which
I
is
think
what-
it got played out a lot. A lot of like what was big on YouTube, like the vlogging. I think that's kind of like it's the norm now. It's what you have to do to get anywhere on any social media. But then at the same time, it's what everybody's doing.
yeah,
Right.
So it kind of just like flooded everything, and then just had less
then being
impact.
able to stick
Yeah, and then
out
you just
in that.
Yeah.
you got to do crazier and crazier stuff to get people's attention. So
Wasn't even planned that way.
yeah,
I would, if I was smart, I would have had the YouTube and all that before.
yeah.
Right.
And then
yeah,
that
and then
video
rode that-
would have gone
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's me trying to catch up after. But like I
you
said, this
yeah.
this winter will be, building a new car or a new car for under the boat, and kind of making it. It's not going to be, its top level of what it can be, but it's going to be a big step over what this car is. And then the plans next year are, evergreen events. Definitely going back down to Summit Point for DoD. did get an invite to Hyperfest.
Nice.
So that's
Hyperfest is like one of my favorite events.
I've never been.
It's so good.
So
good.
You know,
Drifting is only one part.
I know.
It's only one small part. Everything, there's SCCA's there. You got all the off-road shit. Like,
So
dude, it's everything.
I'm excited for that. And then
You gonna build Power Wheels?
I don't know. I gotta get the boat done.
Well, hold up.
You know
hold
about
up.
the Power
They do-
Wheels,
I do know about
Is
the
it
boat.
the downhill Power?
Hyperfest. That's what we were watching the other day. Yep, that's a
Yeah.
Hyperfest where they do the downhill.
Yeah, I am
I need
not
a
down
boat.
for that because I
You
want
need
Do
a
they
to.
make
boat.
a boat Power Wheels?
Do they? I don't know.
I'm gonna have to find a small boat to put over a Power Wheels.
maybe put the jet ski over top of the Power Wheel. Now we're getting crazy. So yeah, I mean, as always, tune in every week Wednesdays. Brandon, thank you for coming in,
Hey,
man.
Thank
It's
you
been
guys
awesome.
for having me.
Thank you.
We're gonna go outside and screw around with the drag truck and the boat, hopefully here, and make some more videos. So make sure you guys stay tuned. As always, Parts Online Network, all the social medias. Just search Parts Online Network. You'll find us. Head over to that YouTube page. Give us a follow, and yeah, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, got a big guest coming on. We got Joe Barry from drag racing fame.
Drag Week, yeah. He's
Yeah.
big drag. Like one of my favorite cars from Drag and Drive back in the day when I first got into it.
Would we like consider him one of the godfathers of dragon?
Well, yeah, that's like when I was watching one of our videos when Bailey's running, Steve Morris is there lining him up. There's Joe Barry, the Schroeder Ends guys are there. It's like Drag Week royalty in one picture.
So yeah, Joe's going to join us. Joey Barry's also going to be joining us, his son, to talk about their future plans for him to get into racing and what he's got planned. And we'll talk about his win at Roadkill. And yeah, so next week's going to be a good one too. So make sure you guys tune in, and we'll see you. Going to leave you with a video as always. And
So long.
Out. So
we